Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 6 begins with the NALFund situation, where the Nigerian Education Loan Fund NALFund has vowed action against sharp practices in its ecosystem, insisting that it was committed to ensuring all its steps were not only audit compliant but also fraud resistant. The fund's declaration came as it partners anti-corruption, military, paramilitary, and other relevant agencies on whistleblower and early warning systems, real-time data verification tools, joint audits and risk assessment models, as well as citizen awareness campaigns to educate the public on their rights and responsibilities under the loan scheme. It expressed optimism that the collaboration will fortify its ecosystem against fraud, manipulation, or misuse, as the fund would tap into their expertise in compliance enforcement and digital forensics. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NALFund, Akintunde Sawyer, declared his agency's avowed commitment against corruption at a workshop with heads of anti-corruption agencies, military, paramilitary, and other agencies in Abuja. The event marked the culmination of the 5-day stakeholders engagement session, which brought together education administrators, vice chancellors, student union leaders to align around a shared mission of building a student loan system that is transparent, efficient, and trusted by Nigerians. Describing the participants as guardians of accountability, transparency, and national security, Sawyer highlighted the need for the partnership, explaining that it would strengthen the fund's internal controls by co-developing mechanisms for due diligence, applicant verification, identity protection, and fund tracking. Meanwhile, several areas in the capital city, Abuja, have been thrown into darkness for days. The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company confirmed this in 3 separate outage statements released on its X handle on Thursday and Friday, being today. The DISCO blamed the blackout on technical fault affecting the feeders serving the concerned locations. Several areas and businesses affected include Jabi District, Life Camp, Kado District, Irigas, Total Marble, and others along Kaduna Road. Also, Idu, Sitek, Mbora, Karmo, FAB Global Estate, Karmo, Woodfield Estate, Zulu Community, and all its environs are experiencing outages. Also, Sokala Garden, Dutse Makaranta, Dutse Bukuma, Ushafa, Peggy, Gigo, Defense College Estate, Kogo, Zuma, Veritas University, JAM Headquarters, Law School, Wari, and environs are experiencing similar power outages. Meanwhile, for Wari and its environs, the DISCO said the epileptic power supply was particularly due to a technical fault in a 33 kV Wari feeder serving the areas. Also, residents in the affected areas have continued to lament the impact of the outage. Meanwhile, onto security matters, Nigerian troops have rescued 31 kidnapped passengers along the Akpata-Obajana Road in Kogi State. Zagazula Makama, a counter-insurgency expert focused on the Lake Chad region, disclosed this in a post on his X handle today, saying the rescue operation was carried out in collaboration with the police and local hunters. Makama stated that he was reliably informed by intelligence sources that the incident occurred on May 8th when 2 Toyota Hiace buses traveling from Lagos to Kano in Katsina respectively were attacked by armed hoodlums. The security expert narrated that the first bus, and driven by Saminu Yahaya, was heading to Kano with 17 passengers, while the second was driven by Bashir Dahiru, was en route to Katsina with another 17 passengers. He added that efforts to rescue the remaining 7 abducted persons have been intensified. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi has denied reports that the federal government has commenced extradition proceedings against Simon Ekpa, a factional leader of the Biafran of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, also the acclaimed Prime Minister of the Biafran government in exile. In a statement issued by his Special Assistant on Communication and Publicity, Kamaruddin Ogundele, today, the AGF said the reports misrepresented comments he made at a stakeholders engagement held on Thursday in Abuja. Also, he went further to address the situation that he only explained that the Nigerian government was in talks with Finnish authorities to ensure that Ekpa, who is currently facing trial in Finland, is held accountable for his actions. According to him, he said, and I quote, "To set the record straight, what the AGF said during the question and answer session was that the Nigerian government had been engaging with Finnish authorities to ensure that Simon Ekpa is held accountable for his actions. He explained that since the crimes committed by Ekpa were cross-border in nature, the Nigerian government eagerly awaits the outcome of the proposed trial in Finland to have an informed decision on the next step to take. Fagbemi urged the media to exercise caution in reporting on the matter and to refrain from publishing speculative claims. Meanwhile, the government of the Republic of Benin has shut its borders with some communities in Nigeria's Kwara state over alleged arms smuggling and the emergence of a new terror group known as Magmuda. The president of Benin Republic ordered a total closure of the border route between Taberu, a village in Barutan local government area of Kwara state, and Tanu, a neighboring village in Benin Republic. A local security personnel who confirmed the development stated that the president of the republic yesterday, the 7th of May, closed the borders between certain villages. A viral video recorded by an unidentified source alleged that the closure followed intelligence on frequent illegal importation of arms and ammunition from Benin into Nigeria, especially via the air route from Parako, the capital of Borugo department in Benin. The source added that while helicopters deliver the weapons into Nigerian territory, the exact destinations of the shipments remains unknown. The narrator further stated that some individuals had taken steps to block the border route between Taberu and Tanu, a key path linking Nigeria and Benin Republic. The closure is believed to be linked to growing fears about the activities of a new militant group known as Magmuda, which is suspected to be behind a recent rise in cross-border attacks and illegal arms trade in the region. Reacting to the development, the Nigerian Customs Service Public Relations Officer Abdullahi Maiwada disclosed that findings have been made to get across the Benin Republic that the issue will not be jumped into conclusion without adequate findings. Meanwhile, the Natasha, Akpabio and Akpabio clapped back, while Senator Natasha Akpabio has strongly denied violating a court order in the ongoing legal spat with Senate President Godswill Akpabio. She instead accused him of infringing on her constitutional right to freedom of expression. Reacting to the contempt proceedings filed against her, Senator Natasha said she has not disobeyed the interim order issued by Justice Inyako. She explained that the order was suspended by the court on April 8, 2024. She also dismissed claims that her early apology amounted to an admission of guilt. According to her, the apology was a gesture of peace, not a confession. Senator Natasha described the lawsuit as a violation of her rights under Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution, which guarantees freedom of speech. She further questioned Akpabio's priorities, suggesting he was more focused on silencing critics than addressing ethical concerns within the Senate. The senator vowed to challenge the case in court and urged civil societies to take interest, recommended. The clash between both lawmakers stems from an ongoing political rivalry and leadership tensions within the Senate. The court is yet to decide on the new contempt suit. Going on to party politics, a factional leader of the Labour Party's National Publicity Secretary, Abayomi Arabambi, has alleged that many obedients who served as party agents during the 2023 presidential election ran away with election results from their polling units. Arabambi alleged that the obedients absconded with election results because the Labour Party could not afford to pay them 10,000 naira for their services. According to him, the party failed to account for 54,000 out of the 189,000 polling units at the 2023 Presidential Election Tribunal because of the actions of the agents who absconded. He added that the Labour Party has been lying to Nigerians about why the party failed in the election. He alleged that the inability of the Labour Party to produce a complete election results was the reason the party could not file its petition within 21 days as stipulated in the Electoral Act. Speaking further, Arabambi said the party after its failure went to court and lied against the judiciary. According to him, the party leaders, including its presidential candidate Peter Obi, went to court to lie against the judiciary. He said that was the genesis of the crisis in the Labour Party, adding that Peter Obi wanted the issue covered up. Arabambi also blamed the likes of Aisha Yusufu, Valentine Ozigbo, Pastor Ituwa Igodalo, and Oseloka Abazi for the party's loss in the 2023 election. According to him, the aforementioned persons mismanaged the party's campaign funds. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we're heading to our news analysis segment. I'll be joined via the telephone with our analyst who will be giving us some insights into some questions that will be posed at him concerning some of the stories that were read out on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. right, you're still listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM, and currently it's time for a news analysis segment. I'm on the telephone with Mr. Tochukwu Ezekama to give us his own purview on some of the stories read out on the World News at 6. Mr. Tochukwu, good afternoon, or rather good evening, and thank you for staying with us on the World News at 6.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for having me.
Can you hear me appropriately?
Yes, I can.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Mr. Tochukwu, here is the situation. Let's start off with the Labour Party situation. Now, you know Arabambi, the factional secretary of the Labour Party. He's coming out to spill a lot of things. He's saying that the Labour Party during the 2023 elections refused to pay party agents, or rather those who would be at the polling unit to monitor the result, 10,000 naira. That it was because of that was the genesis of the crisis within the Labour Party. And that most of the persons who caused the issue were basically Aisha Yusufu, Valentine Ozibo, or Salazar Abazi. These individuals who are the very close loyalists of Peter Obi were the ones that caused the problem. He said they absconded with election results because the Labour Party could not afford to pay them. That's these party agents absconded with the results because the Labour Party could not pay them 10,000 naira. And that when they went to court, that Labour Party officials lied because they couldn't produce some of these polling units results at the tribunal when investigations were ongoing, and yet they claimed that they won the elections without anything to prove. So he's saying that they have been lying, that elections were rigged when they couldn't provide the necessary documents to ascertain their proof that they won the elections. Now, Arabambi, you recall, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we heard him say that they had reconciled with Peter Obi. They had obviously allowed and said that they would give him the automatic ticket for 2027. Arabambi is coming out to make all this declaration. What do you make of this?
Well. The thing is that politicians, people go to court hoping to win a case. People tend to make a case against their opponents. Supposedly, it cleans up their image and tarnishes the image of the opponent. So it's hard for me to know what the facts are in the Labour Party. But I know that majority, or a good chunk of Nigerians voted for the Labour Party because the Labour Party represented something new. It represented something transformational, something reformative. It reflected an impulse for change to get things moving in a different direction. Obi personified a new force in Nigerian politics for a number of reasons. He was the only governor that had no case with the EFCC. He was a governor that kept a low profile, managed the state's funds adroitly. There was no waste and there were savings. I read a book by Okonji Iweala that said the name of the book is Fighting Corruption is Dangerous. And he said that he was crying and begging Goodluck Jonathan and the governors forum, that they save the money from excess crude account and keep it for a rainy day, that all the governors refused. So they said, no, share the money now, it's ready already. That it was only Peter Obi that stood his ground and said, let us save. So for that reason, I know that Peter Obi represents something new, and people have coalesced around him and the Labour Party. Without him, the Labour Party wasn't much of anything. And people voted for Peter Obi across board.
Yes, that's the
South,
truth.
North.
Mr. Tochukwu, that's the truth. But a lot of revelations are coming. Can you hear me, sir? I said what you're saying is not a lie. He received quite a majority of votes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Peter Obi received quite a majority of votes. But right now, in just 2 years after that election, look at what the party that, was a third force that was literally unknown has become a ridicule of itself. For example, Arabambi is coming out now to say that they went to the court to lie. That's already an inciting statement, that they went to lie against the judiciary, that because they were the ones who failed and not the judiciary. They claim that INEC had rigged them and that the judiciary failed them. But that is not the truth. That the Labour Party failed themselves. That because, as he said, that the 4 persons who were responsible have now left the party 4 days ago. He mentioned Valentine, he mentioned Pastor Itwa, he mentioned Aisha Yusufu, and he also mentioned Pastor Igodalo, Osaloka Obazi. He says these 4 persons who were staunch members of the party, strong, obedient movement, who actually led a lot of people, they've left the party, and that they were the reason why a lot of polling units could not be accounted for. That the APC, the PDP, had party agents to present results even when INEC's result at the Arab portal was blurry. That was the reason why they needed to have party agents at the polling unit. So if Arabambi is coming out to say all this, the question is, why is saying all this now? Because he's claiming that Peter Obi wanted everything covered up. So if you said that the principal wanted everything covered up, went to courts, paid money, a lot of money was paid to those lawyers, and at that particular tribunal, some things couldn't be presented. I'm sure you heard what the justice at the tribunal said against the Labour Party at the time. So if this was the case, all right, and the obedience keeps saying that Peter Obi was denied that he originally won that election, what does this particularly stipulate, especially for Arabambi coming out to say this now? Why didn't he say this earlier, way back then?
For politicians jump party as women change shoes in Nigeria. So that 4 men or 20 men left Labour Party for another party is most irrelevant. They live for their personal reasons and then seek justification for their living later. They were staunch members, but we saw what happened in Delta State. Is it Delta? I think it's Delta State, where Okowa and the governor of the state left. Those were staunch
Delta State,
PDP members.
Forgery, yes.
So it really makes no difference. Well, it's like a city designed of accommodating 200,000 that overnight had an influx of people, and overnight became 3 million. There's bound to be problems in the city. Labour Party was a very weak party, almost ineffective party. Obedience to the Labour Party and the influx of the obedient members into the party changed the dynamics. So it would take the party a while to find its feet, reorganize itself, to accommodate to handle its new role and accommodate its enormous number of members. So that's what is happening with the Labour Party. That they did say, I don't know about that. They're making it. Peter Obi won the election. We all know that. Because across the board,
so let's look at this.
Of the INEC, the behavior of the INEC chairman demonstrated that he had so much to hide, that he was a man acting a script, a criminal script. Nigerians acknowledged that. Nigerians knew that there was a lot of falsification of figures. So whatever accusation they're making, I think they're trying to justify their jump in the party or to make a good name for themselves.
All right, let's look at Aisha Yusufu, one of the strong members of the obedient movement. During the campaign, she was all over the place with Mr. Peter Obi. Well, you know that Peter Obi made a statement about the Occupy Nigeria protest in 2012. He asked that where were all the voices that were hailing hell and brimstone against the administration of the day under former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. So he said, are they dead? Why the silence now? He referred to John Oyegun. He referred to the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. He referred to a couple of persons who are notable at the time within this administration. What's his name? Oshomole, the former Edo State governor, who is now a senator. These were the voices at the time who said no to fuel subsidy removal and no to the increment in the price of petrol. So Aisha Yusufu said that Peter Obi had made a statement that at that time there was no need to protest, but she came out to debunk what he says, she countered him and said that if Peter Obi becomes a president today and he does something that she considers to be either unconstitutional or doesn't represent the interests of the people, that she would also protest against him. She countered his point, adding that Jonathan's time of 120 naira per litre was also a better time to protest because the current situation was then in the future and nobody protests what is in the future. Now, because of that, those who are not in support of the obedient movement, and Peter Obi was saying, can you imagine there's already a fracture between members of the obedient movement, and this means that the support for Peter Obi seems to have completely crippled, and in all of this he's quiet. If we say that is the case, are we saying that if Peter Obi says something that does not all go well, that his followers wouldn't point out the truth? Isn't it about truth? Should anyone cover lies or pretense? So if Aisha Yusufu said she counters Peter Obi's perception, does it mean she's no longer in support of Peter Obi? Does she mean she's no longer in support of his ideals?
No. People should be motivated by justice. People should be motivated by equity. People should stand up for what is right and do things that are right for the repose of their conscience. So because he's my friend, everything he does is right. I'm not supporting. That is wrong. That I don't believe in. That does not help Nigeria. That does not help the public good. So the thing is that during the days of the protest against Goodluck Jonathan, actually I supported the protest and I participated in a very minimal way. But the thing is that the doubling of petrol price overnight, Nigerians was not used to that. And we had a group of people, a political party, that had perfected the art of opposition politics, APC and the activists from the West. So they spearheaded the protest. Now we don't have such activists. We don't have such opposition experts in opposition politics because APC is now in power, and you don't expect a party in power to start opposing itself. That PDP and the other opposition are failing to provide us opposition. To provide opposition to this government is not the fault of the government, but the fault of the opposition. But we have to make a distinction between Labour Party and the obedient movement. Like in the case for Enugu, the gubernatorial election in Enugu, Aisha Yusuf supported this present governor against the Labour Party candidate because she said, I will support the right man. I am not following the Labour Party or the obedient movement sheepishly. I think for myself and I'll stand up for what is right.
All right, Mr. Tochukwu Izukama, let's look at this. The reason why we're talking about this, all right, is because Nigerians need they need to follow somebody. All right, so they've been complaining.
They need to do what?
They need someone who they can consider to be an opposition, a major opposition that represents their interest from what this current administration represents. And that's basically why we're talking about this. The idea is they know that the only time that they have the power is at the polling unit at the general elections. Right now, they cannot protest. They cannot go about certain things because of the kind of infringement that is already on them. You'll be slammed with treasonable charges. If you don't have a proper legal representation, you would rot in prison or jail. You can't say certain things. You may be taken away by the DSS. All these things they know are restrictions. So the ideal time to wait for is during the elections. And that's the reason why we're speaking on this. Do you think that in the possible time, like you said, between now and let's say towards the end of the year or next year, that Peter Obi would leave the Labour Party? Because if you see what is currently taking place, it feels like the party itself has imploded and it doesn't seem organized at all. Remember at the World News at 12, I told you we heard what Akpabio said about the Labour Party, about the person of Peter Obi, and they have been making comments all over the place. It got to a point that Omoyele Sowore called Peter Obi dumb because of certain statements he made about protesting and what have the obedient done in terms of actually calling out the government beyond talk. And the obedient movement actually hailed brimstone on him, bringing out his WAEC result of 1986, where he had only one pass and several F9s. But it's beyond this. So what would you advise so that a lot of his followers do not get disinterested, do not lose hope? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And if it is not a person, which other person that represents that kind of mannerism that Nigerians want to follow through with, do you think can emerge between now and next year?
Well, it would be wonderful if we can have a candidate that the entire opposition can coalesce around for the next presidential election. But it's in the hands of the opposition. And one thing is that the ruling party is throwing spikes in the wheel of progress of the opposition. But that's politics. You counter your opponent. You undermine your opponent politically, so you stop him from winning the election. So it's left in the hands of the opposition to organize themselves. Whether Peter Obi is leaving the Labour Party or staying will be a question of detail. But the point is that even as the Labour Party stands of today, it will not be a tool, a vehicle to win the next election. There must be coalition. The parties will come together. APC was a potent political party and has grown even more powerful since Tinubu won the election. So it will be very tough to dislodge the APC from the presidency in 2007. It will require a lot of work, a lot of coming together, a lot of building bridges, a lot of making friends. And if the opposition successfully do it, then it's all fine. But if they don't, of course, they'll lose the election. It's about winning and losing. So the details of what party is joining or where he's going, I don't really know. But they need to work very hard. We need to build a coalition to dislodge this administration in 2027 presidential election.
All right, Mr. Tochukwu, let's look at the Attorney General of the Federation. I don't know if you recall, I think...
Let's look at what?
The Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, the AGF. Yes. So, lately, just today, thereabout, he was able to clarify, according to him, some misconceptions that were put out there or thrown out there by the media. He said the media misconstrued or misinterpreted what was said. So, last month, we heard that the federal government has affirmed the extradition of Simon Ekpa, the acclaimed Prime Minister of Biafran government in exile, who is currently in Finland custody. And you will recall that the cable news reached out to the lawyer of Simon Ekpa to ask if indeed it is true that the Nigerian government had succeeded in getting an extradition order against Simon Ekpa. And the lawyer said there is nothing of that sort. Now, that story circulated across all social media platforms, circulated across all the news outlets. Now, the AGF, after 1 month, did not decide to come out and clarify that that extradition process is not true. He kept mum. That Nigerians felt okay, so they were fast in having to get an acquiescence with the Finland government for Simon Ekpa's extradition. On this platform, it was literally talked about, where some person said it may not be possible because Simon Ekpa has dual citizenship, and whatever happened in Finland and not in Nigeria. So he's coming out to clarify that they are in talks with the Finnish government about the crimes of Simon Ekpa, but not that there had been able to get an approval of an extradition order for Simon Ekpa. So the question is, why allow the speculation or the fallacy or the misconception to percolate when you knew the truth? Why didn't you release a statement immediately to clarify that this is a misconception and it's not true? How do you expect Nigerians to trust these institutions whenever they bring sensitive matters like this to the public?
Of course, we do not trust our institutions. There's this trust deficit between the people and the government. We're used to our government lying to us. We're used to our government disappointing us. We're used to our government raising our hopes and dashing them. We're used to our government being flippant and sometimes reckless with the truth or the lie, just lying to us recklessly. So I don't know about the details. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that Finland is an advanced country, not a third world country, where one man can take decisions by fear, or where officials can be bribed. If we have their laws, they will follow their laws, and in the final analysis, what the law says is what will be done. The Attorney General may have jumped the gun, or I don't know why he misrepresented facts.
No, he
but
said,
that's not new to
he said that the press were the ones that misconstrued what was said. But my question is, why take a month after to respond? I mean, it's just like yesterday when we read in the news that INEC had re-enlisted Julius Aburi as a Labour Party chairman. And just before yesterday, could actually stop existing, as you may say, they released a statement on their handle to deny such. They said they haven't done anything like that. They haven't made any statement like that, and that it is not true. It's just the work of mischief makers. So that tells you that they know that information is very sensitive. People will talk about it and question the integrity of INEC, and they distance themselves from it. So why take one whole month before you come out to clarify that misconception if you feel that you were misconstrued?
Maybe they were at a point they were having a breakthrough in the negotiation to extradite him to Nigeria. Then he jumped the gun and said there's an agreement. Okay. And maybe they're having some setbacks in extraditing him, and now he's saying it's not the correct information. I don't know what happened, but it's not new to us in Nigeria. The misrepresentation of facts, the lying to the masses by the government. That's why we do not trust our government. They've given us too many reasons to distrust them. But that's the system, inefficiency, disorderly, confused. It's nothing new in Nigeria.
All right. For Senator Natasha and Godswill Akpabio, they are still going back and forth. Now, you recall that Godswill Akpabio had actually asked Senator Natasha to apologize for misrepresenting him and slandering and defaming his personality. Natasha Akpabio, in reaction to that, sent out a mockery apology. It was actually full of sarcasm in that. Now, because of that, Godswill Akpabio said he was going to sue her. Now, Natasha said that she did what was meant to be done, that she's accusing him of infringing on her constitutional right to freedom of expression. And reacting to that contempt proceeding filed against her, Senator Natasha says she has not disobeyed the interim court order issued by Justice Nyako. Now, you recall that the president had actually called for a constitution of a panel to look into the matter of Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha. Obviously, Godswill Akpabio had to step down from that particular committee. You have somebody chairing the committee as the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. You have the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, part of it as well. You also have the AGF, part of that committee to investigate this matter, being set up, an order to be set up by the president. So the question is, while the case is still in court, you set up an executive committee to investigate it. Meanwhile, the role of the Senate that had a code of ethics committee that were meant to investigate this case in the first instance, they faltered in their duty, and there was now an executive combination of persons who have urgent things to look into this matter. How would you say this matter should be resolved and let the Senate stop being an embarrassment for cases like this?
Well, so one thing, there's a criminal dimension to the whole thing. So I think it should be investigated, handled by the police or whatever agency, and be taken to court.
Okay.
But then on the other hand, there's some internal Senate issues involved.
Okay.
So maybe the Senate Ethics Committee should look into it too. But setting up such a high-powered panel to look into the matter is a little out of place. The Vice President, yes, madam?
No, the Senate Ethics Committee closed the case. They didn't even look into it. They didn't even bother to investigate her allegations. They instead suspended her. Godswill Akpabio was the one that even presided over that particular panel. He was sitting when she submitted that petition. I'm telling you, they closed. They did not even allow the case to be looked into while they went into suspending her. Although they said her suspension was not based on sexual allegations, but against refusing to obey Senate standing rules. Regardless, though, they did not look into it. They asked her that petition had been written against the Senate president.
To be a judge,
written by her constituents,
to be a judge,
was not looked into.
To be a judge in a case that you accuse of, that is nursery game judiciary or nursery game. That's something of a nursery game. So, and the evidence is something is good. There's an attempt by the Senate to sweep it under the carpet. I think the president of the Senate has something to hide. So let the right authorities handle this matter. But setting up a panel of such a high-powered panel is unnecessary. Let the ethics committee commit to do its work, hopefully independent of influence from the Senate president. Let the system take its course.
All right, Mr. Tuchwe-Ezukama, thank you so much. I sincerely do appreciate you taking your time to give us your insight.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Good evening. All right. And just before we go, let's look at stories outside the shores of Nigeria. President Donald Trump abruptly fired Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden as the White House continues to purge the federal government of those perceived to oppose the president and his agenda. Hayden was notified in an email late Thursday from the White House's Presidential Personnel Office, according to an email obtained by the Associated Press. Confirmed by the Senate to the job in 2016, Hayden was the first woman and the first African American to be Librarian of Congress. Hayden, whose 10-year term was set to expire next year, had come under backlash from a conservative advocacy group that had vowed to root out those standing in the way of Trump's agenda. The group, American Accountability Foundation, accused her and other library leaders of promoting children's books with radical content and literary material that they consider to be authorized by Trump opponents. In that particular regard, all around the government, Trump has been weeding out officials who he believes don't align with his agenda, from the Justice Department to the Pentagon and beyond. At times, the firings come after conservative voices single out officials for criticism. And that's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachukwudu. Stay with us for the evening rush at 7. Good evening.